Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Glad to have you here today for another case study. I'll be taking you through a specific case study from our private practice. The goal of me sharing these case studies with you is to allow you to understand that many people, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people suffer from the same symptoms with different underlying root causes. But the nice thing is this. We know that every single dis-ease state that someone may be diagnosed with or mystery-based illness, they're made up of groupings of symptoms, right? So rheumatoid arthritis, well, what is rheumatoid arthritis? Inflammation, typically of the smaller joints, like the knuckles in the hand, the elbows, etc. Okay, so we have inflammation of those joints, deterioration of the joints. Well, what about MS? Okay, same inflammation, right? But now it's attacking the myelin sheath around the nerves. Well, what about Hashimoto's? Okay, Hashimoto's, inflammation, autoimmune process around the thyroid. Okay, and again, we can go down the line for every different disease that you'd like. High blood pressure, okay, it can be caused by about 6 main different things. Same with high cholesterol. So our job is to simply say, whatever your issue is, skin rash, migraines, brain fog, autoimmune process, low energy, etc., what we need to do is figure out what are the underlying root causes. And honestly, the way that I got well was to be able to find out those specific areas of my body where they were imbalanced. I had too little of something in my body, right? Just to put it basically, too little of something, too little vitamins, too little minerals, too little enzymes, too little omega-3s, whatever it might be. Or I had too much of something. I used to have high levels of aluminum and high levels of mercury. So those were definitely heavy metals. But then I also had candida overgrowth, I had bacterial overgrowth, and I had H. pylori. Okay, so I had to clean those up. Then I had a bunch of histamine issues. So for a period of time, at least, I had to empty my rain barrel and lower my histamine load. So again, once we begin to figure out these different processes, all of a sudden our body starts to heal, right? Because we put it in position to heal. So today I want to take you through, this is actually a private wellness client of mine. I've been working with this person for years. They're not anymore, but they were suffering from high levels of stress, very poor recovery around workouts, even though they were getting 9 hours of sleep a night. They had lots of inflammation over the whole body. They had back pain, chronic back pain for about 15 years of their life. They had a lower mood. They weren't in a low mood per se, but for them, it was a low mood. They just had less get up and go, less outgoingness, less ambition, less drive, right? And they had lower sex hormones. So you can see kind of a lot of these things correlate with each other. They felt they had less muscle tone than they had in the past. They were putting on a little bit more body fat. So if I wanted to add that, I would say body fat gain, lower muscle tone. So I said, okay, these are not uncommon symptoms. This person was getting towards 40 years old. I said, not a problem. If you're open to it, I would love to run the Big Five with you. The Big Five is going to look at, well, it's going to look at your digestion. It's going to look at candida overgrowth, your vitamin levels, your mineral levels, your heavy metals, your stress hormones. It's going to look at the sex hormones. It's going to look at your thyroid. It's going to look at your omega-3s. So, and your food sensitivity. So all these great things. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. They said, yes, let's do it. I want to figure this out. I've run my blood work. It looks fine. So why am I feeling this way, right? That's the famous line. My doctor says I'm fine, so why do I feel so sick? And it's a good question, right? And the good question because until you're looking at the true functional medicine lab levels of your body, you don't really know where things are. You know that you may have a disease or not have a disease based on your annual blood work, which I do recommend absolutely doing. And I have a podcast on what to ask for that annual blood work. We'll try to link that up here today. Today is what? Today's episode 2113, I believe. 2113, right? Yep, 2113. All right, so let's write that right in there. If you're not watching this on video, of course, I would love you to, because you can follow along with the lab. If not, I will talk you through the whole thing. So audio is completely Fine. This is not just for practitioners, right? We have about 25%, 30% of our listeners as practitioners. However, 2/3 are not practitioners, and this is for everybody. These podcasts are for everybody. You don't have to have a level of medical or wellness-based knowledge to understand these podcasts, and they're specifically made that way, right? So I want to do this for real people in the real world. So what we're going to do today is review one of those labs that we went through with this individual, and it was the omega-3 test. And the reason I'm doing that is that on previous case studies, which we'll link up today at stephencabral.com/2113, there's a whole category now on case studies. You'll actually be able to see a hormone test, a neurotransmitter test, a minerals and metals test, and I believe, if not, I'll do it soon, a candida metabolic and vitamins test. So we've got a lot of labs up there for you to check out. We also have a food sensitivity test that I want to make sure my team adds to that as well. It's basically called How to Read Your Own Food Sensitivity Test. All right, let's dive right into it. So this client came in, and I redacted all the information. That's why there's a big white space at the top. Obviously, everyone in our private practice is kept completely confidential. We are not one of those. I don't think most practitioners do this, but we're one of those practices that we don't say, oh, we're working with this athlete or this celebrity or this person or this influencer. It's just not something we do. If someone wants to come out and say that, that's totally up to them. But if I'm ever going through a case study, this is completely redacted because this person is, I would say, fairly well known. So, but again, it doesn't honestly matter. I always love to say that. It's like, oh, what's it like? People ask me, like, what is it like when you were doing strength and conditioning with this certain celebrity or athlete or whoever it might be? And I was like, well, it was basically the same as any other personal training, strength and conditioning session. And they're like, well, what about when you did wellness for this person or this person because they came out and they publicly said that you work with them? I said, well, it was essentially exactly like working with anybody else except maybe a stranger schedule. That's about it, because we would be working things around photo shoots or filming or something like that. But that's it. It's, again, people are people. Labs are labs. They're just going to show you what's going on. So let's get started. So the big thing to look at, again, there's a lot of numbers on this. So my job is to make this simpler for you, because it really should be simple. Functional medicine does not have to be, really coded or scary to try to think about or even figure out. It's not. So let's check this out. Omega-6 to omega-3 levels. I've got lots of podcasts on omega-6s and omega-3s. Essentially, omega-6s are more inflammatory and omega-3s are more anti-inflammatory. However, our body still needs omega-6s, probably a little bit more than we do omega-3s. But if we think about it, really the ratio should be at a 3-to-1 ratio. So this lab test says you want to be less than a 5-to-1 from omega-6s to omega-3s. And I agree with that. I just think optimal is about a 3-to-1. Okay, then you see this next marker called AA to EPA ratio, and that stands for arachidonic acid to EPA, which is a form of omega-3. And you want that to be below 5-to-1, and again, ideally 3-to-1. So 3-to-1 ratio from omega-6s to omega-3s. Arachidonic acid is the most inflammatory omega-6, and EPA is the most anti-inflammatory. Cases can be made for that. I totally get it. I understand that. DHA is super important as well, but the nice thing is when you take EPA, it can flow to DHA. So it makes that no matter what. So that's the great part of it. Okay. So this client, when they were not even thinking about their fish intake or supplementing with omega-3s, they were at a 9.5-to-1, clearly above the 3-to-1 and definitely above the 5-to-1. Okay. But their arachidonic acid to EPA was 13.4. And that is not ideal whatsoever. Anything above a 10, we consider that quite high. So the average American is an 18.3-to-1. The average American is very inflamed. We don't allow our private clients, private wellness clients, to be that inflamed because it's not fair to their body. It's not fair to their mind. Inflammation it's not a root cause, but it's implicated in 90% of all disease because it leads to disease states because of free radical damage, etc. So let's get right into it. This person has some work to do, but let's take a little bit deeper look, right? If we go right to the bottom, okay, what's their arachidonic acid level? It's a 10.7. All right, we want it to be below a 10, no doubt about it, but it's not that bad, right? So we want it to be below a 10 to 7. So how do they end up with this 13.4 ratio. Well, if we go down to their EPA, they should have that above 3%. It's at 0.8. Okay, so the thing is, and I really wanted to make a big point about this, and you don't have to know what any of this means, but here's the thing. Most people are not, like health conscious people, this is a health conscious person. Most health conscious people are not eating a lot of inflammatory foods and high omega-6s and oxidized vegetable oils and all those things. They're just not. They're not eating like tons of grain-fed beef. I just don't see it typically in our practice. So this person was exactly the same. So they said, how can I be this off? Well, the issue is this, and it's actually the case for many vegans that I work with. You're just not getting enough omega-3s. That's the bottom line. So if you're vegan and you're eating lots of nuts and seeds, okay, great. I mean, again, like, I have no problem with that. If you can digest them well, then great. I have no problem at all. However, you're not most likely getting enough omega-3s to be able to balance that. Okay, so that's my big thing. Now, you can get omega-3s whether you're vegan or whether you're paleo, whatever, carnivore, name your favorite diet. You can still do it. Okay, so then we move down to the next section. And in an ideal world, you'll see a red line highlighted by yellow going right down the middle of this. This shows the ideal place to be. And it's basically the island-based people, the longest-lived people in the world, right? If you start to move to the right of that line, well, you actually move to more of the blue zones based places that live the longest. Now, Mediterranean is right about here at about like 35% highly unsaturated fatty acids, but this client, unfortunately, is hanging out right where the U.S. is. And remember, the U.S. is dead last in the world in overall health for industrialized nations. And I write about that and give you the chart inside of my book, The Rain Barrel Effect. All right, so we know we have some work to do, right? We've got some work to do there. This is one of the best and most telling charts on the whole lab. It shows you a big line, a big arrow, and it has a pink star, and it tells you exactly where you are on that. This particular client is in the orange moving towards the red. That typically always means danger, right? Watch out, danger. You want to move towards the green. So you want your total omega-3 rate to be above 9%. This client is at 3.6. So again, the US average is 4.8. What does this mean? This client eats healthy. Why would this possibly be happening? Here's the thing. His diet, very low in omega-3s, okay? Not too high in omega-6s, just too low in omega-3s. So that's why. So this person is deficient. The good news is this. If you get your ratio above a 9% or you get your saturation rate above 9%, it correlates with a 90% risk reduction rate for sudden cardiac death. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. So that is why, again, that even conventional medicine, they only recommend a few vitamins and minerals. Every year they recommend another one, because of course they can patent it, right? So they can make some money off of it. But even they recommend omega-3s for heart disease. So pretty impressive to look at that. All right. So the last page is this. It actually shows you your EPA levels and your DHA levels. All right, EPA, we talked about that. DHA, it's another omega-3. These are the two most powerful omega-3s. They are very helpful for the mood, especially EPA, very helpful for the hormones, especially EPA, and it's anti-inflammatory. DHA, we know that, pregnant women definitely want to be taking some omega-3. And the reason is that you want to be able to boost your DHA for neurological based development. DHA is also a potent anti-inflammatory as well. Great for the brain, great for the nervous system. All right. The nice thing, as I said before, taking EPA, and you don't have to just take one. I mean, a good supplement will contain both. Typically, it will contain a 2-to-1 ratio of EPA to DHA because, again, your body can make more EPA and you can change it into DHA from supplementation or fish as well. I've got lots of podcasts on the highest omega-3 fish as well. We'll try to link that up today at stephencabral.com/2113. All right, we see their total omega-3 at a 3.6. It's got a ways to go to get to 9%, right? So really, really important. We look at that, and then we want this back down to that less than 5-to-1. All right, so this was on 8:30. I have no idea why that imported. It should say date, but it's all jumbled from my redaction. Well, let's take a look. So 8:30, and now the next lab is taken on 12/19. That should be about 12 weeks later. We have 8:30, so we have all of September, all of October, all of November. Yeah, that's about right because it takes a few weeks to get your actual lab. So that's exactly 12 weeks. So this client did what they were supposed to. So you're supposed to retest in an ideal world 12 weeks later, and then you really don't have to test again if you're eating the same style of diet that you typically would and you're taking the same level of omega-3 supplementation. Let's take a look at the results now. Literally 12 weeks later, and they went from what? They went from a 9.5 omega-6s to omega-3s to a 3.6, right below that 5-to-1, and we're looking for that 3-to-1 ratio. So that's perfect. That really is close enough. That's great. And the even more important one, they went from 13.4, super high, to a 2.8, which is right at that 3-to-1 ratio again. So this client is now in the clear. They're doing great. Look at that EPA. We talked about that, right? One of the reasons why they were so low before in omega-3s wasn't the bad diet. It was because they were 0.8 in DHA, and now they're at 3.6, and you want to be above a 3. So absolutely fantastic. That arachidonic acid is what? Oh, it's below a 10 now. They're doing their job. Even their nutrition is that much better, less oxidized arachidonic acid. So absolutely fantastic. We go down the chart. Look at them right here. They're approaching the blue zones, and actually they're past the people of the Mediterranean, so they're doing so fantastic. Again, that inflammation has largely then been squelched to a great degree, and again, we're proving that out with the omega-3s right here. Let's take a look at that total omega-3. We want them above a 9%, right? That's the goal. They are now an 11.4 in the green zone. And where were they before? Well, they were at a 3.6 with the U.S. average being 4.8. And now way above the U.S. average, they're 11.4, which means they get to take advantage of that 90% risk reduction rate for sudden cardiac death. So, and remember, cardiovascular disease starts when you are young. It doesn't all of a sudden happen in a year. It's just like Alzheimer's. It happens over time. Plaque builds up, inflammation over time builds up, etc. All right. So again, this client is just doing so great. Their levels now are right at that red line. And again, I just really proud when I see people put in the work. It has nothing to do with me. All I do is simply give them the plan. I bio-individualize it based on their unique numbers. And then they go to work implementing the plan, and lo and behold, the numbers change. Again, we can back that up. And then when we do our follow-ups 12 weeks later or so, again, we're checking in typically every 4 to 6 weeks. This person reported across the board lower stress, better recovery, of course, now much lower inflammation, no back pain with all of their workouts. Again, not just from the omega-3s. I mean, they did other things as well. I'm not going to say this is the only thing, but when you have that high of omega-6 to omega-3, it leads to greater inflammation. We retested their hormones. Their testosterone actually jumped up by, I believe it was 18 points, which is fantastic. And of course, their results from exercise are getting that much bigger. So I just wanted to share this with you. Again, these labs they're accessible to anybody now. Back in the day, you'd have to go into your doctor's office, a functional medicine doctor. You'd have to find them like I did, and then run these labs for at least double what they were double back then. Now, the nice thing is they've come down a bit in price, and each lab actually comes with a plan. Because if you read this lab on your own, you may have no idea what it means or what you're supposed to do. So that's why, in terms of EqualLife, we provide a consultation, an actual reading of your results so you understand what it means, and plan to go with every single lab. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm definitely happy to answer any questions you may have. I'll continue to do case studies. Let me know if there's any additional ones you would like to see. And I do plan on continuing to do 1 or 2 case studies per month. So just let me know. Thank you so much, everyone. I will link up this lab and many other labs at stephencabral.com/2113, which was today's podcast episode, and all the different links as well for the omega-3 supplement that we recommend that actually has been clinically proven to get you these types of results. Remember, not every omega-3 is going to get you these types of results. The nice thing is, if this client just continues with the 2 soft gels they're taking a day of the daily omega-3 support, then they're going to stick with these results, right? And you can use any brand you like. I always say that, but you just want to make sure that you retest and make sure that brand is getting you the results that you want. Remember, everything is verifiable, so you don't have to guess anymore. So that's that. I can't link up the brand. You can go to stephencabral.com/EqualLife, and you can look up daily omega-3 support. And you can use the soft gels or the liquid. Typically, adults use 1 teaspoon of the liquid or 2 soft gels of the omega-3. All right, that is it for today. Always feel free to share the shows if you feel they could serve anyone else. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I appreciate you. I truly do. So thank you so much. And as a valued listener of the show, I want to let you know about our Zelderberry Immuno Lozenges giveaway. This is a product that not enough people know about. So I literally told the Equilife team, I said, listen, I want to be able to share this product with more people so they know about the big benefits of Zelderberry. Zelderberry is a specific trademark product that we've created that provides the clinical benefits of elderberry extract. If you've never heard about elderberry, this is something that has now been used successfully in clinical trials to actually destroy and kill viruses by stopping that viral-based replication. And one of the perfect pairings with elderberry is zinc. Zinc is also now clinically proven to help stop viral-based replication. And for the common cold, zinc helps your body recover typically 1 to 2 or more days faster than you would without that extra zinc-based support. So that's why I love being able to provide you with the best of functional medicine, of course, mixed with ancient wisdom of Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine herbs. So if you've never heard of our Zelderberry products, we have a product called Zelderberry Max that you can literally take 3 times or more per day at the onset of a cold or virus, and you can use that for a week to boost the immune system. But Zelderberry lozenges is 25 milligrams of zinc, 100 milligrams of elderberry. You could take one of these a day to get your extra zinc in, or simply keep a bottle around, which is what I do, for that little dryness, scratchiness in the back of your throat, or maybe you're traveling on a plane, you're around a lot of people at a conference, and this is a great thing to use for that 3 to 5 days that you may need it. Now, for a cold, you might end up taking it for a week or two to get that 25 milligrams extra per day of zinc, as well as that elderberry extract. Again, both clinically proven. It's an amazing product, and you can check it out right now over at stevencabral.com/Equilife. And believe it or not, we are actually giving away free bottles right now. We have 500 bottles available. They are completely free for the first 500 orders, qualifying orders right now over at Equilife. Find out all the details at stevencabral.com/Equilife, and you can check out both of our Zelderberry-based products. Take care, everyone.